Ember Witch. Book 1. The Lich. Volume 1. Black Tragedy. Chapter 4. Black Tragedy. September 19, 459 BME to October 31, 461 BME. Fragment 39. The Vision. Vera had finally made her way into the main gate of Myopia after 7 months of hard travel. The first few months were the roughest as she had to travel through the snow. She had no idea what the situation was like for the Cinder. She had sent a message to Kaisha just before she had left Shurva's home, but due to traveling through the heavy snow she didn't get any response back. She made her way through the city and up to Kaisha's estate. The guards looked her over, not recognizing her after being disfigured and scarred. She explained her situation and the guards, now understanding who she was, apologized, then let her in. She strode through the main entrance, then pushed the throne room door open to see Kaisha jumping in surprise at her sudden arrival.
Vera? By the gods, what happened?
Kaisha asked as Vera knelt down before her.
Did you not receive my message? I sent it months ago before I made my way back to the Heartland,
Vera said in frustration.
Unfortunately no, communication has been all but lost due to the heavy snowfall this winter.
Kaisha replied in a sad tone as she looked over Vera's damaged face.
I was successful in killing the elven spy within the Forest of Blades, however she had a daughter with a human around 20 years ago. I tracked this half-blood into Meridia but was captured and tortured by the elf and human king. Your Grace, the elven have already taken Meridia. They planted the Church of the Gods deep into the governmental body. I am afraid that my presence there could have given the elven a reason to move forward with the invasion,
Vera explained in haste, and Kaisha stood from her throne in shock.
Are you certain about this?
Kaisha asked, and Vera stood from the floor.
Unfortunately, Your Grace, I am. The half-blood is the healer of the city. She holds a high position in the church and has direct communication with their king,
Vera replied, and Kaisha stepped up to her.
What of the half-elf? Is she still alive?
She asked in a tone that shook Vera.
Yes. I was bound from my color for some time and chained to the castle's dungeon wall. I was beaten, raped, tortured and disfigured before I made my escape,
Vera said as she began shaking.
I need you to be entirely truthful with me, Vera. Did you tell them about us? Did you tell them that we are currently hunting the elven around the continent?
Kaisha asked in the same tone. Vera shook her head before she spoke.
No, I told them nothing. They do not know that Fevra, Neela and Kras are preparing the other races to move against the elven.
Kaisha turned to her with a frown, then placed a hand on her shoulder.
I will have a room prepared for you. Go take a bath and rest. We will discuss this further tomorrow. For now I have to inform you that Neela and Kras have been working with the Orsin to find the elven within the desert. However, I have received no word from Fevra or Hana since your departure. I have faith in him, but it has been over a year since he had left for the Evergreen,
Kaisha said as Vera took a deep breath.
I am glad you are here, Vera. I have truly missed your company,
she continued, and Vera broke down. She began crying, tears only streaming down the left side of her face. Kaisha looked to her, seeing the pain and anguish that Vera had been bottling up, then she wrapped her arms around her. She held Vera tightly as she sobbed.
It's okay, Vera. You are home now, you are safe,
Kaisha said as Vera held her tightly.
I failed you,
Vera said, and Kaisha pushed back from the hug to look Vera in the eye.
Listen to me. You haven't failed me. You haven't failed at all,
Kaisha replied, and Vera turned her head away. The massive burn that had removed her eye showed the pain Vera was feeling.
Please, Vera, go get a well-deserved rest. We have time to talk about everything tomorrow. I am truly sorry for what has happened. I deeply wish I could help you more than I am able to right now. I will send Neela and Kras a message tonight, informing them of your return. Now go,
Kaisha said with a heavy heart. Vera stepped a few paces back, then bowed. She wiped the tears from her face, then headed out of the throne room. After trekking through the forest for months, Fevra, Hannah, Jolin, and Maria had successfully spoken to 6 packs. The plan that High Leader Tanner proposed worked flawlessly besides for the fact that each time Fevra and Hannah were tied up and marched into the council tent by several armed mages. Despite the presence of Jolin and Maria in each meeting, the council still insisted that they be put to death. Jolin and Maria had talked each council out of their decision with the promise that they would decide once each pack had been informed of the coming invasion. 2 high leaders had laughed at the idea, however, with the help of Jolin's respected presence, they had been allowed to continue their journey. Hannah over the months had been in a variety of different conditions. Her breathing had worsened in the winter months, but now that the snow had melted and the air was warm, she was again having a rough time dealing with the pain. She had passed out several times on their way through the forest, but Maria was able to keep her alive. She had an extremely hard time keeping up with Jolin, who decided to move much faster than they had planned. Jolin had gotten angry on nearly every occasion that Hannah had to take time to recover, but Maria had argued in her favor each time. They were closing in on Fevra's pack, and both Jolin and Fevra were on a knife's edge. Fevra was nervous due to the damage he had done to the entire pack the day he found the black blade. Jolin was only nervous because the closer they got to the cherry blossom, the closer Fevra and the outsider were to the blade. Both Fevra and Hannah were lucky that Jolin held his oath so close to his heart. He had been tasked with escorting them through the forest, and he had stuck to that mission. Despite his frustration, anger, and hatred for the both of them, he hadn't turned on them or attempted to kill them this entire time. His pace was a different story. He wanted this to be over with as soon as they had started, so he moved quickly and pushed the others to keep up.
We are an hour away from your pack. Stay here while I inform Hesha and Sana of the situation. Make sure they stay put,
Jolin said to both Fevra and Maria, who was hovering above Hannah while she recovered her breath with heavy wheezing. Maria nodded while Fevra sat next to them. Jolin walked away, leaving the 3 alone. Hannah reached her hand out and lightly grabbed Fevra's. He gripped it firmly and looked down to Hannah, who looked like she was in a great deal of pain. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, then relaxed, knowing that Fevra was by her side. Maria looked over her in worry, but settled as Hannah continued to breathe. They sat together in silence, letting Hannah rest until they heard a group of people approaching them. Fevra stood up and prepared himself as Maria woke Hannah and got her to her feet. Jolin, Hesha, Sina, and 3 mages came into view, and Fevra took a deep breath. He held out his hands and allowed for the mages to tie them up. Sina looked at him with sorrow and disappointment. Hesha examined him with curiosity, but didn't show any sign of what he was thinking.
Why would you return, Fevra?
Sina asked, and Fevra bowed his head in a respectful manner.
I was sent by the Dermorden of the Fyren to warn you of a plot of invasion by the Elven Kingdom,
he said in the most respectful and sincere voice he could muster. Sina looked him over, noting his missing arm, the dark skin-tight clothing with a broken blade and flame stitched into the fabric, then to Hannah, who had just gotten her arms tied.
We will discuss this back at camp,
Sina said, and Fevra bowed his head.
Thank you, High Leader.
Fevra replied, then was led forward by 2 of the mages. Sina and Hesha stayed behind with Jolin, Maria, and Hannah. Sina stepped forward and bowed his head to Maria, and she bowed back.
I am glad to see you are doing well. Is your father still grieving over your mother? I have had the hardest time letting go myself,
he said, and Maria looked to the ground.
He has been doing well. He still hurts, but he has been growing used to a world without her,
Maria said, and Sina stepped forward and embraced her in a hug.
I know how deeply it hurts. She loved you so much. I wish she was still with us,
he said, and Maria wrapped her arms around the old man.
Thank you, grandfather,
she said as she began to tear up. They held for a few moments before they finally stepped back. Hannah had been looking down at the ground, wheezing the entire time. Hesha looked her over before he spoke.
Jolin informed us that a Fyren was with him. Now that I am standing in front of one, I can finally understand why he hadn't killed Fevra immediately. I have no doubt that your journey here has been rough. Tell me, what is your relationship with the exile?
He asked as Sina and Maria began walking back to camp. Jolin, the remaining mage, and Hesha stood awaiting her answer as she wheezed.
I was a royal guard for the Demorden of the East and was sent to inform you of the invasion. Fevra is merely an associate by our common trade,
she answered, and Hesha nodded.
I can't say I am thrilled that you are here, but the deed is done. We will let you stay until we learn the truth behind everything,
Hesha said, then began walking to the camp. Hana held her head down, trying to keep her breathing under control. Cress and Neela had been traveling with the Orson for months across the desert. They had been stuck within the Broken Fangs camp at the request that they participate in the gathering. After 3 months, they had learned that it would be held near the end of the year, however the Ashlanders had not agreed to meet. This was particularly worrying to Neela, as it almost certainly proved that the elven spy was within their camp. Although the gathering was still a long way away, Neela was beginning to get antsy. She knew that if they were to kill the elven, they would have to make it to the Ashlands, but the Orson of the Broken Fang had refused them to leave. Cress had been keeping herself as far from the Orson as possible this entire time due to their sexism and bigotry. Although the Orson and Firen had a mutual relationship, they were still treated like lesser beings. Cress, having already suffered enough pain in her life, had taken to staying in her tent most of the day. She only came out when she was required to hunt or when they moved from location to location. Neela was beginning to think that bringing Cress along was the wrong choice. She didn't think that the Orson would recognize what she was. Women in the Orson society were looked down on, but were also required to participate in everything the men did. A woman was taught to hunt, fight, kill, cook, and survive in the desert, but were constantly berated and sometimes beaten for just being a woman. Luckily, the Orson hadn't attacked her or Cress during their time with them. Neela had assumed that due to their people's political relationship, the Orson were not willing to break the already wobbly trust over something like 2 Firen women being in their camp. They were currently moving inland at a rapid pace so that when the gathering began, the Broken Fang could claim the first camp. Neela had learned that the tribe to arrive first not only got first pick on their campsite but also first pick in their fight. After months of heat, no clean clothes or a bath, both Neela and Cress looked like death itself. Although they looked awful, they at least had plenty of food and water thanks to the stores that the Broken Fang had gathered during their stay near the coast. Neither Cress or Neela knew how long it would take to reach the gathering, but they hoped that it would be sooner rather than later. They were both desperate for a bath. They both wanted nothing more but to be back in their cave where they had a comfortable bed to sleep in. Vera was laying in a tub of steaming water, sobbing as she pressed her energy through her body. The pain of knowing that her body had been so terribly violated pressed into her with such force it felt like she was being crushed. She let her emotions flow out in waves as the heat of the water soothed her aching muscles. After some time she closed her eye and drifted off to sleep. She stood in a throne room, steeped in darkness. She looked around her surroundings, seeing nothing but an empty room and a dark throne sitting solemnly towards the back of the room. She turned around at the sound of a door opening and watched as a human woman stepped into the room. The door closed behind her, then the woman reached her hand up. A small click sounded out and instantly the room was filled with light. Vera blinked with irritation as the light slightly blinded her. The human woman stepped forward, then around Vera in a circle.
I see you lost an eye. I hoped you would stay in one piece, but there is nothing I can do about that,
the woman said, and Vera opened her mouth, but no words came out.
There is no need to say anything, Vera. Speak with the void moths, they will guide you,
the woman said, then the vision vanished as Vera pulled herself from the water. She coughed as she lifted her head from the tub.
Vera, what happened?
Kaisha asked as she rushed to her side.
I fell asleep,
Vera replied as she coughed up water. Kaisha pulled her out of the tub and let her catch her breath.
Come on, let's get you to bed,
Kaisha said as she lifted Vera to her feet. Vera looked to her and began crying. Kaisha helped her to the door and wrapped a towel around her.